I love math and numbers. So I feel like that's kind of like my balance between left brain and right brain. Like the right brain side of me is creative in my fashion. The left brain side of me is pretty analytical and into numbers. So that's why I kind of came up with Sparkle Bookkeeping. It was a combination of both.
I love bookkeeping.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the I Love Bookkeeping Show. I am your host, Ben Robinson. And as always, we've got a very special treat for you today. I love having guests on this show because it really gives us insights into how other people are growing their bookkeeping business, how other people are living the life that they deserve and desire. And if you were just sitting here listening to me all the time, I think that you would get pretty bored. So I don't like to do that. I like to bring people on who are smart. And speaking of smart, I've got with me today the owner of Sparkle Bookkeeping. I love that name. She says her personal style is hyper feminine and sparkly. That's a great combination. But deep down, I'm pretty left brained, which is why I think I like bookkeeping. Or actually, she says, love bookkeeping. I love bookkeeping right there. She says her business is unique in the way that I market myself. And besides, of course, my high quality work. She says she markets herself as not the average bookkeeper, but a cool bookkeeper like Amy Poehler's character in Mean Girls, which we were talking about before the show. I'm not just a regular bookkeeper. I'm a cool bookkeeper. So I'd love to welcome to the show with us today, Jessica Albee. Jessica, how are you?
Hi, Ben. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing excellent. Thanks for being on with us today here. So let's dive into this. So you consider yourself hyper feminine and sparkly. So sparkly and bookkeeping professional typically don't go together.
Yeah.
So kind of walk me through what in the world made this sparkly person decide to become a bookkeeping professional.
That's a great question. I mean, I feel like my personal style, fashion wise, is really feminine, and I kind of like to push the boundaries a little bit with my clothing and wear kind of out there sparkly clothes and pink. I kind of dress like I'm 5 years old still. But deep down, inside, I'm pretty left brained, and I love organizing, and I love math and numbers. So I feel like that's kind of like my balance between left brain and right brain. Like the right brain side of me is creative in my fashion. The left brain side of me is pretty analytical and into numbers. So that's why I kind of came up with Sparkle Bookkeeping. It was a combination of both. So.
All right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, being a bookkeeper is one thing, but starting your own bookkeeping business, that's another. So, what was your train of thought there? And hey, I think I'll start a bookkeeping business. What was going on?
So actually, when I was still in college at San Diego State, I got an opportunity to work for a cannabis tax firm. So that's kind of where my story started with accounting and bookkeeping. I wasn't really interested in cannabis or tax, but I just got that opportunity, and I worked there for about 3 years and learned a little bit about bookkeeping. I started doing admin work, and in the cannabis industry, it is just it was just out of control. And this is back in 2013, 2014. It's still messy now, but back then, they're not allowed to have
a wild, wild west.
Oh man, they're not allowed to have bank accounts. So I learned how to do bookkeeping with people that only had cash, and just chasing down receipts from people. It was crazy. So I got some really good experience there. I learned bookkeeping that way, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to do this on my own. I appreciate the experience I had there, but it was just a time where I wanted to try out something new, and I was like, I think I could do this on my own. And I just did a Google search for some bookkeeping classes, because I learned how to do cannabis bookkeeping. I know that's not the same as regular bookkeeping. So I found Bookkeeper Business Launch, and I went through the classes, and I felt a lot more confident, a lot more comfortable after doing a Bookkeeper Business Launch. And I had a friend that needed a bookkeeper, so it was the perfect timing for me to leave my job and start off with, I had one client. I saved up some money so I can, kind of dive into this. And that's kind of where it got started. Yeah. So
I love hearing that entrepreneurial spirit, especially at a young age. That is just that warms my heart, because I know that behind that entrepreneurial spirit is that desire to live life on your terms, to be in control, and to really make a difference in the world. So congratulations there on that, and realizing it at a relatively young age. So,
oh, thank you so
yeah.
much. Yeah, that means so much.
Well, all right. So let's kind of take you back. So you found our class, Bookkeeper Business Launch. Before you signed up, were you skeptical at all? Were you like, hey, are these some shady guys, or what's going on here?
I did some research. I don't remember the other classes I was looking into, but I loved how you talked about like mindset too. That was pretty big for me. I wasn't too skeptical. Like you're very friendly and like easy to like listen to. So I was like, I could listen to this guy. Like, well, yeah, I'll take this
Okay.
leap. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, we always say, you invest in Bookkeeper Business Launch, but more important, you invest in yourself. And have you found throughout this journey of starting your own business that it's much more than just learning bookkeeping? It's much more than learning how to run a business. Is there things that you have grown personally from?
Oh man, the mindset part has been huge for me. So, when I first started Sparkle Bookkeeping, I didn't have really the right mindset. I was kind of spinning my wheels. And then I went through kind of a hard breakup. So I'm single now, if there's any single guys out there. Just
There's some
throwing that
weirdos,
out
but we
there.
will not give out personal information here.
Okay,
So, All
that's
right.
fine. That's good. Protect.
Yeah.
But I so after that, I kind of hit like rock bottom, and I was really depressed. But I had to keep my business going. I had clients that were relying on me, and so that really pushed me into a different. I kind of pivoted in my mindset, and I started applying what I learned from Bookkeeper Business Launch in the mindset. Modules, and that's when my business really started to grow. And I've just been practicing like self-love and meditating and believing more in myself, and that's when things really took off and got really exciting.
Well, that's exciting for me because, we are about starting a business. We are about earning money. That's first and foremost the reason that we do this. But then we start to realize how much of a badass we are underneath all this and how much we have to persevere. And it's almost some days like a schizophrenic. Like, I love my business today, and tomorrow I hate my business. Why am I doing this? So have you found that to be the case, where it's kind of a roller coaster?
Yes. Yeah. Some days, like when I have like fires I need to put out, those are the days where I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, and working by myself has been hard because of that too. I'm like, I don't have anyone to bounce like ideas off of, but like, yeah. So there's good days and bad days, but there's been a lot more good days than there have been bad. So.
Oh yeah. At first, it's definitely that roller coaster. It starts to plane out over time.
Yeah.
All right. So let's kind of fast forward. You went through Bookkeeper Business Launch, and obviously we don't hand you clients. You've gone through, but let's talk about the clients that you serve today. First off, how many clients roughly do you serve on a routine basis?
I think I have about 17 right now.
17. Wow.
Which sounds crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
To say out
Now,
loud.
what's your vision for the future? Where do you want to drive this business?
Like when I first started Bookkeeper Business Launch, I just like wanted it to just be me and just kind of manage, so many clients. And as I've, gotten the hang of this, I'm like, I feel like I could, bring on someone and, get more clients. And because I haven't really marketed like at all.
And you have 17 clients. Wow.
Yeah, I've been very lucky. It's all been like referrals. I'm sorry, what was the original question?
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? That was the original question. No. We were talking about kind of where you're driving this business, where you want to take it.
I mean, now that I can see, myself possibly like hiring people and growing that way. Like I would love to build like Sparkle Industries and just like have a whole Sparkle empire, like a bookkeeping firm, and the sky's the limit now. So I really believe that. And so I kind of leaning towards that.
Okay. All right. Well, I
Yeah.
believe in you. I know that you can do it. But here's one thing that I would kind of give you a homework assignment
Okay.
is to get real granular about what it is that this business is going to do for you. I would encourage you to do what my coach and friend Cameron Harold suggests, and that's to create what we call a vivid vision.
Okay.
And that's basically where we lean out 3 years and pretend that we took a time machine and we're looking back and we're looking, actually not looking back, we're looking at that current date to say, what is it like? How many clients am I serving? How many team members do I have? What's the feel? What are people saying about us? What do our customers say? What do our clients say? What do our vendors say? What do the team members say? What's our sales like? To get really granular with all of those details about your business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we know that it's not going to play out just like that, but we do know that we're able to now have a context for making decisions in the future. Because if we have this vivid vision, when we have decisions to make, like, hey, should I hire somebody? The first question that we ask is, does it fit into my vision for my life and for my business? Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. And I really want you to get that's one side, that's for your business. And I also want you to look at your life and what it means 3 years from now. Hey, that means that, you know what, I work 20 hours a week and I earn, 250,000 or whatever you want to put down. That's personal. I work that, I'm able to go, I know you live if you like to surf, I'm able to go surf, when I want to, or I'm able to go to lunch with my friends when, pretty much at a moment's notice. Getting real granular about these things, really tying that vision back to everyday life that you have.
Okay.
Because once you do that, now it gives you like a framework. It gives you a rule book in which you can make these decisions moving forward.
Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that, I never did that until, well, I'll say never did it. I didn't do that until long into my career in business. And it made all the difference in the world to think now, like when I was considering the podcast, we have our vivid vision, where we want to go. And I asked myself, would that fit into it? Is that going to support and move us towards it? And it does. Where there's other decisions that I've come across where I've said, no, it doesn't. It moves me away from it. So it just gives you a great context of everything.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
So what's your favorite part about your day being your own boss?
I mean, I love that I can kind of start work whenever I want, but now, I've gotten a lot more serious about it, and I wake up at like 5 every day now because I just want to get a head start. And I mean, just I don't know. That's a tough question. My favorite part of the day doing this.
I mean, setting your own schedule, is that?
Yeah, setting my own schedule. I mean, my goal is always to start early so I can finish early, but I usually I end up working late too sometimes. So, yeah. But I mean, my goal is to have shorter days and start early and then end early. But I think I'm still experiencing growing pains right now. So I am putting in the extra time. But yeah, probably schedule.
Awesome. Now that's one of the things when you're really shaping your days, like, hey, you know what? I work from 5 to 10 a.m. every day. And outside that, I don't work. I don't work weekends. I don't work nights. Now you will have to work weekends and you will have to work nights to get there, but it is a short-term sacrifice for a lifetime of benefits. So just keep that in mind and make sure that you structure your business around your life and not make your life fit around your business, because it will take it over, especially where you're wanting to take it. You'll work yourself to the bone and then just want to throw up your hands and say, this is enough. I've had enough.
Yeah, I'm scared of that. So I've been trying to kind of keep that in mind where I'm not running myself into the ground. Because I feel the first 2 years I've been doing this, my friends are like, oh, you're always working. And then now that I'm trying to, thinking about hiring someone, I feel like I need to put more time in now. And all my friends or family are, still saying, you're still always working. And I don't know when that is going to stop. I hope soon after I get some help, but I feel like that's going to be maybe another can of worms I'm just nervous about.
We'll get to that here in just a second. I got some good suggestions based upon what you're looking at here.
Okay.
So right now, the growth and you wanting to create Sparkle Industries, which is kind of like, what was the Iron Man? What was his name? It was something Industries. Anyway, I digress. Anyway, so you don't want to be Iron Man, but you have this vision, right, where you want to take it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, where was I going with that? I had a really good question in mind there, and then of course here I go with Sparkle Industries and such like that. But I'm sure that I had something wonderful to say, and now I just forgot it. So
oh
no! We'll blame it on that. I'll remember it right in the middle of you talking. I'll have to write it down.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know what it was. We got to be intentional about this, right? We can't say I hope that it's going to happen. We have to say I'm going to make it happen, and here's how I'm going to do it. But it requires us to be intentional about building that business that fits around our life. And again, it comes back to saying I'm going to work these hours, and outside of that, I'm not going to. So if you said in that vision of your future, if you said I want to work from 5 to 10 a.m., well, now you're working from 5 to 10 p.m. maybe. That's kind of the life of an entrepreneur sometimes. But now you say, okay, that's what I'm going to do. How will that happen? Right. But first we state what is going to happen, what we're going to do, and then we figure out the how.
Okay.
And so that leads us to really a conversation about being efficient, about automating things, about stop doing things, about all the different things that we do in our day. The other question was, is this about money for you now? Is this about income? Do you need it to like pay bills, eat groceries? Is the growth by a financial need?
Like where I'm at right now, I'm able to pay for myself and all my bills. And, I'm content and I'm very happy and I'm very grateful for where I'm at, but I would love to, buy a house in San Diego, and that's really, really tough. I couldn't do that right now. So yeah, I guess, financially, like I would like to make more so I can stay in San Diego. And,
right.
I would love to pay my employees well too and help them. So,
but you're not in a position now where you are like, I have to take on new clients so that I can, pay rent and stuff.
Nope, not anymore. Yay.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And you did it the wise way. You said you had some savings. You started with that one client, and you didn't go out without a plan. So that's very important and a key takeaway for everybody listening. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that this does is it puts the ball in your court. It gives you an advantage on new clients that you're going to be taking on. You don't have to take on anybody. Now, what you can do is get more aggressive in your pricing, which means you're more aggressive in the value that you deliver. You can get, you can start being selective with the type of personalities. I don't know if you have any, but, we all have those couple of clients who are like, oh, they just rub me the wrong way. When I see an email or I see a phone call from them, I just want to just crawl up and hide in a corner. And you don't have to take on any of those clients anymore. So I always like to give people that perspective because we never stop and think, oh, I got to take on this client. You don't have to now. It's not about money.
Yeah.
So
it's great.
This is a little learn from my mistakes on that because.
Yeah, that actually was something that I had. In the beginning, I took on, whoever I could, and I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I did not start off those first couple of clients, with the pricing I should have, and so now I spun my wheels a little bit with them, but I'm getting to a better place, and I can't just change up the pricing on them. Right. Now, but I've got everything pretty automated that I'm like, okay, it's okay enough.
Okay. All right, good.
So.
All right, so let's move on to this challenge. And again, this fits into the context of you going back and really defining the vision for your business, and more important, the vision that the part the business will play in your life, and not the life that will play into the business. But you said, you're getting to the point where your cup runneth over. You got too much to do. You can't do it alone, or you can, but you're going to go crazy at one point. So that's my iteration, not you saying that you're going to go crazy. I went crazy almost, but you have a potential new person that you want to pass work off to, but you're scared about letting go and doing this. How do I train them properly? Making sure that they are set up for success, and all the time that an onboarding a new contractor employee takes. Does that kind of summarize still what we're going to chat about?
Yeah, spot on.
Okay. All right. So one thing that we talk about in context, and we can't talk about people, which is what we're talking about here, without talking about processes, and we can't talk about processes without talking about people. So let me ask this question. Where are you now in terms of documenting your processes in your business?
So, I mean, I haven't like written out my processes, but I have pretty good checklists, and they're kind of in like chronological order. So I've just been kind of going off of that. But those checklists I know are for myself, and like I kind of understand like what needs to be done for each checklist item. So I know I need to document those a little bit differently for someone that I'm bringing on, because they don't know, other little things that I'm doing for each checklist item, I guess. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
But you've done some, and you got
I've done
major things.
some.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I know that this isn't directly associated with what you're asking here, but we'll get there in just a second. So what I want you to start doing, do you have some sort of screen capture software like Snagit or something that you can?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So with that, with a Snagit or a Camtasia or whatever, that Screenomatic, what I want you to do is, as you're doing this work, I want you to start recording yourself doing this with your screen share. And I also want you to verbally walk me through what you're doing. And what you want to do here, and so there's a little, that's the exercise. But backing up from that, before you do that, I want you to find the things that you do that are most common to all clients. So if that's reconciling the bank accounts, if that's categorizing expenses and income, money in, money out, what are the common things that you do with every single client?
Okay.
Now, we all know that every client has a little bit of a nuance, and we may do it a little different here and sign into that client. But what we're doing right now is we're creating universal processes that it doesn't matter if you're working on client 1 or client 17, it's pretty much the same. But what you're going to start doing is you're doing the work anyway, okay? So what I want you to do, and it'll take you probably 10 to 20% more time to do it this way than it would normally, because you're thinking through it and you're verbalizing it. You're like, okay, now I'm logging on to QuickBooks Online. I go here. This is where you find, this is where we keep our passwords on LastPass. I won't show you that. It's for security, blah, blah. Now I'm logging on to QuickBooks Online. Here's the URL. Defaulting to giving away more detail than less. And here's why. Because once you get through narrating that process and doing it, so now you've done the client work, you've spoken the process, you've got a screen capture. So now you have a video of what you just did. But we're going to take it to the next level, and we're going to take that video and we're going to upload it to a service like rev.com, and we're going to get them to transcribe each video. And the reason that you want to do this, okay, this is going to have a couple of benefits for you. But number one, if you're going to bring somebody aboard, how powerful is it to not tell them what to do, but they get to watch you? They get to paint by numbers. Have you ever been, are you a good artist?
I guess. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sparkly.
A little bit sparkle.
I suck at it. But I went to, have you ever been to one of those art things where you go and paint with a group, and paint your, whatever, Starry Night?
I haven't, but I know what you're talking about.
It's just an excuse to drink.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
but there is some art involved in there. But when I got done that night, I didn't have Vincent van Gogh, but I had something that you could say, that's a cheap knockoff of Vincent van Gogh. But if you saw if I tried to do that on my own, it would be horrible. But I followed somebody. And that's the same thing that you're doing here, is that if I have half a brain, and I'm watching your video, I can do this. And we're not asking them to do fancy journal entries and stuff like that. We're starting with some basic type of things that are universal across all clients that aren't really that difficult. So now you have a video that if you hired me, you could say, hey, first thing that you're going to do is that you're going to take on this process. Here's the video. Okay. Here's the transcript. So you got that transcript back from rev.com, and it costs about $1 a minute to do that. So, it costs a little bit of money, but you get it back and it's in raw format. So you got to clean it up a little bit. But by the way, you can train somebody else to do this later down the road. So you don't even have to be involved in this except for the review point. But now you've got it in video form, you've got it in written form, and that's very powerful because some people learn visually and some people learn by reading and some people like a combination. But now you have all of it. And then from that, from the narrative and from the video, then you create your checklist. But your advantage is that you really kind of already have the checklist. So what it would be is to take that process and now take that checklist and say, where are we off? What's happening here? And so that in and of itself is a first step to hiring somebody, believe it or not.
Wow. Cool.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I want to encourage you and everybody on a checklist is that, those of you at home can't see this, but I'm showing this to Jessica. This is a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper folded in half. A checklist should fit on this right here. It should be no more than about 10 steps. If it's more than that, that means you need to divide that process up into multiple processes.
Wow.
Or multiple steps. Because I know the first checklist I did was about 18 pages long, and it was like in everything, make sure you exhale now. It just got so detailed. That's not the purpose of a checklist. A checklist, and I learned this when I was in the Air Force. So a checklist would say, hey, if I'm flying a plane and I'm about to land, my landing gear should be down. So on the checklist, it says, is the landing gear down? Yes. It doesn't say, now to put the landing gear down, you turn this knob and you do this dial and you do that and block, and then you check and make sure. It doesn't do all that. It just says, is the landing gear down? All right. Has the bank account been reconciled? Yes. Are there any discrepancies? No. Good. Now, the narrative and the video walkthrough shows how all that came about. But what you're doing on the checklist is hitting those 5 to 10 major points that have to be done so that checklist is just a final mechanism for whoever is working with you and for you to make sure that you're doing it right.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome. That makes sense. Yeah.
So that's a kind of a basic process for creating a process. Now, notice we haven't talked about hiring anybody yet. And that's for good reason. Because most of us do it the opposite way. We hire somebody and throw them and say, hey, here it is, figure it out, right? And we're setting them up for disaster. We're setting ourselves up for disaster. And worst off, we're setting the client up for disaster. And even if we're hiring somebody that could just do it all, the problem with that is that we put the power in their hands. If they leave us, we are screwed, metaphorically, because they have all the knowledge between their ears, and that's not something that you want.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about, does that make sense so far?
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great advice. Because I was trying to figure out how to prioritize this whole hiring process. So you're laying out the process for the hiring process. So this is exactly what I need. Yeah.
Okay, good. So, what I would start with is to go through your clients, like we mentioned before, and say, what are the commonalities? And then say to yourself, what are the easiest, lowest hanging fruit in terms of tasks and processes that we do for clients every month? And you want to start with those. Even though if it only takes 5 minutes a month per client, you've got 17 clients, that's 85 minutes a month. That's an hour and a half of your time. And so if you were able to clear out 10 of those, an hour and a half times 10, that's 15 hours. That's 4 hours a week you can return back to your life. Now, it's not going to happen that way initially because you are spending this time documenting. And then when we talk about bringing somebody on, there is that indoctrination that you have to give them. But you're setting them up for success and you're setting your firm up to be able to scale. So you're starting with those easiest things. And here is a misconception. A misconception among us as bookkeeping professionals is that the person that I need to hire is somebody with a lot of bookkeeping experience. And I say, not yet. Slow down the horses. The first person that you need to hire 95% of the time is a virtual assistant or executive assistant, whatever you want to call them. And here's why. Number one, they're less expensive. Number two, good VAs or great VAs are super powered people. They know their stuff. This has been a transformation in my business that we're running now. My VA is my right-hand person. I cannot imagine going back to a life without Beth. She anticipates my moves. But at first, there was a lot of things I thought, I need to hire an executive to this. No, Beth has taken them over. And I'm like, are you kidding me? For what Beth, if you're listening to this, I hope that we're paying you very well. But what I thought that I was going to have to pay a lot for, she's able to do because she's very smart. She's very analytical and she fits the description. She complements my weaknesses and she's able to do things that aren't really my unique ability. Mm-hmm. And what you do, so rather than think, hey, I've got these clients, I got these 6 clients and I want to hand those off to a bookkeeper. We want to think opposite. We want to think, I've got these 6 tasks that I do among all my clients and I want to hand those off to a VA, a virtual assistant.
Okay. I was going to ask, so a virtual assistant isn't necessarily a bookkeeper. They're doing tasks.
Yeah. But let's face it, a lot of the things that we do don't require a lot of bookkeeping experience. Now, one of the benefits that I found also, Jessica, to this is that a lot of the great candidates, and I'll give you a source for finding them here, a couple of them in just a second. A lot of the great candidates do have some bookkeeping experience because if they've served business owners, they probably know QuickBooks. They probably had to do some, even if it's just basic stuff, but they have a very strong brain about them. I've found these people to be some of the most underrated and underutilized professionals in the business. So they probably come with a little bit of bookkeeping experience, and you can state that in your job posting, or if you're using an outsource like we did, you can state, I'd love for you to have, it's not a requirement, but if you have QuickBooks Online experience or Xero or whatever you're using, then that's great. That's an added benefit. So, so now here's what you're doing. Number one, you're training yourself to create a process. And by the way, when you're documenting this, you're documenting it as is, not as it should be, not yet. Okay. One of the things we get caught up in is going, oh, well, I should do that different now. No, document it first as is.
Okay.
All right. Now, you're training yourself to do that. And now also within that context, you get your first 3 or 4 processes and you take and find a VA and you take one process and assign it to the VA and he or she learns how to do that. Okay, now I understand how to do that. Now we take the next process and we're doing baby steps. You don't have to commit to 50 hours a month or 10 hours a week or anything like that with a VA. You can do as little as an hour or 2 a week. And I encourage you to start small like that.
That's a relief because I didn't want anyone to rely on me paying them so they could pay their bills. I'm like, oh my gosh, like
no, and we don't want to do that. Now at some point, if you want to take it to Sparkle Industries level, mini empire, everything that you talked about, that will become a necessity. But at first, there's no need to spend the money. There's no need to make the commitment. There's no need for all of that until you kind of get things down.
Okay, cool. Oh, relief.
Yeah. So you can tell. And so one of the sources and where we hire our VAs, where I say our VAs, we've hired 2. And we actually just bought my VA out of her contract with Belay. That's Belay. They have the best, what we have found to be the best pool of virtual assistants. I'm a little bit biased because they're based out of Atlanta here. But I actually found them not knowing that they were in Atlanta from my mastermind group about 2 years ago. Their candidates are head and shoulders above the rest. And, a lot of students inside of Bookkeeper Elite have hired, I say a lot, I think 4 people have hired Belay bookkeepers and have been very impressed with them. That's one route. I will tell you, they're going to be a little bit more expensive, but I'm not talking about, tons more expensive, especially for the minimum hours that you're going to have. And I don't know, they may have a minimum hour a week, like 5. I'm not sure. You just would have to talk to them. We started ours, I believe, with 12, and then we moved her up to 20, and then we moved her up to 30, and then we moved her up to 40, and then we're like, let's just buy her out of this contract, Cool. And so that's one place. The other place is on the Upwork.com. This is where you're going to do the vetting, though. You'll probably find more candidates on there, because one thing that Belay does, they put their potential VAs through a rigmarole, a rigorous, vetting process. And then when they get inside of there, their training is second to none. So they're very highly qualified. They're going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's kind of one of those axioms, you get what you pay for, right? So but the other source, like if you don't want to go that route, I would definitely recommend that you chat with them. But it's Belay, Belay. I don't get anything by promoting them at all. I wish I did. But no, so check them out. But the other one is Upwork, and the job description on there is of utmost importance, and it's of utmost importance to Belay, but they help you to craft that because they've done it a few thousand times, so they kind of know that. But on Upwork, putting that together, exactly what you're wanting, setting expectations, all of that on the front end is very important. And then you can go through and see the ratings. That's the great thing about Upwork, is you can see the ratings on virtual assistants, and there's thousands of them on there.
Cool. Oh, this is awesome. Because I've been talking to other people that are not bookkeepers, and they're like, "Oh, why don't you hire people overseas?" And I'm like, I would rather be like a U.S. based company and pay someone that's here and just like support them. So
Sure.
these are great resources. I'm really excited about that.
Now, Upwork will have people, and there is a time and place for that. I think at first you are wise to do that, and especially since are most of your clients Pacific Coast?
I actually have a couple on the East Coast, but most of them are over here.
All right.
Yeah.
So you probably want a VA that's Pacific or at least Mountain.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody on the East Coast, because that 3-hour time difference, as we know in scheduling this, is quite a.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do it at 7 my time in the morning. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
So I would look for somebody that's as near to your time zone as possible, because that just adds another layer of complexity to the mix. But really, once you start with this and you realize, it becomes addictive, and you're like, oh my gosh, that just freed me up, and that didn't take very long. And then you move to the next thing. Now, as you start to progress up and you start to say, all right, now there's a limit to what a VA can do. And at some point, you're going to have to hire a true bookkeeping professional, but it's probably going to be a year or more before you ever get there. You're more likely to need a second VA before you're going to need a actual bookkeeping professional.
Okay.
And one of the downsides to hiring an established bookkeeping professional is that they have their ways, and they often get stuck in their ways. And so after I kind of cracked the nut, I'd never, ever, ever hired anybody who had bookkeeping experience, because I wanted to train them from the ground up. I wanted to train them our way, the right way that we did things. Not that our way was perfect, but I wanted them to not come in with any preconceived notions of how it should be. And so what you'll find in the VAs is that you'll probably be able to identify some that you could graduate up to that level.
Oh, awesome.
And hire from within, because they are already familiar with that, with your process and who you are and how your clients are and who your clients are. And they've probably been in communication with them. Not everybody, most people don't qualify, but they're great VAs, but others you're going to find could do that, just with a little hand holding.
Awesome.
And especially some good practices. So, yeah. So I wouldn't. The other thing I would like to address on here, but before we move on to that, does all of that make sense so far?
Yeah.
What we chatted about?
Oh my gosh, you've like simplified it like so much for me, because it was just like a giant like cluster of what to do first, and how to approach this, and this is just like so much more simple. I'm really excited about this. Yeah.
Good. And just start small. Start with one task. Start with one VA. And you're not making any commitment to them. If it doesn't work out, the great thing with Belay is that it doesn't work out, they'll get you somebody else. And obviously you can do the same thing in Upwork. If that person doesn't work out, then you can go through and find somebody else. There's thousands. So one thing that I want to address that you said in this challenge is that you're scared of letting go. So
yes.
Now that we've kind of talked about this and put it in a different framework, does that still ring true?
I mean, I feel a little bit better about letting go. I think that's just part of a mindset thing, but thinking of just giving out a task kind of settles that letting go. It's just one thing at a time, instead of like handing over a whole client's, project over, like, and being like, oh my gosh, like, are they going to do it? Like, okay. And I don't know. So that definitely helps with the letting go part. Yeah. Cause I'm a little bit I'm a neat freak, and I've gotten my clients down into this, like, it's beautiful now, like how everything just flows, and just giving out chunks of that to like a VA would be very peace of mind, more so.
And that'll also, it's kind of like you getting training wheels of letting go, because you're letting go of something. And, on the back end of that, you're watching what they're doing, you're reviewing what they're doing until you get a comfort level that they know what they're doing. And then you're able to focus on doing the things that you need to do. So it does take a different mindset. One thing that I'd also throw into this, Jessica, is that you want to encourage your VA and anybody else who actually does the processes to think critically about them. How can we do this better? Is there a way in which we can automate it? And as you go through these tasks that you're documenting, you ask yourself these: should I stop doing that? Is that something that I could get away with stop doing? Most of the time, no, but there's probably a couple of things. Can I automate this? So better than a VA is if you can automate it. We think, well, that can't be automated. Go to Zapier, Zapier.com. And look at all the automation that you can do. It may not be built in, but you can build these nice little zaps that will do that. Automation. Can I just improve the process? So it's not just documenting the processes. There's also going back and seeing how can we do it better and eliciting help from everybody who's involved, because the people who are involved in it have really good ideas. But if they don't know that you expect them to give them those good ideas, they think, well, this is Jessica's way. I know that she wants it done this way. And, they just default to like, my input isn't as important as whatever. So make sure that you're clear with them that you expect that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, what do you recommend for because I've been trying to research also like project management, like ways to kind of pass things off to them in an efficient way so they know exactly what they need to work on, like besides sending like an email or a phone call, like because I have a CRM right now, but it's desktop based, and it's so it's not something that I could add them onto. Do you have any recommendations for?
Well, so let's put this into context. So hiring somebody, doing the processes, and then bringing somebody on, that's an exponential change in your business, an exponential growth. Putting something in like a project management software, while important, is an incremental gain. So what I want you to focus on at first is using platforms that you and everybody else is already familiar with. Excel, or Google spreadsheets, Docs. I mean, is it the most efficient way to do it? No, but you need to start in something that and here's why. I actually talked about this in a mastermind I did recently. If you are trying to do something new, like create processes, and over here, offboard those processes onto another person, and you're trying to learn a new software, a new application, that's a recipe for frustration and just forget this.
Yeah.
So if you already know Excel or Google spreadsheets and Word and all the things that come along with that, you can do it in that. There's templates inside of there, and it doesn't require you to have to learn how to do it. Now, later on, having said that, what you do want to do is to come behind and say, how can we do this better? A way in which to automate that, or a way to improve that, is to bring on project management software. But we don't want to lead with that sort of thing. That is going to frustrate you to no end. But, after you start getting rolling and after you start getting some of these things off, let's say you free up 20 hours a month, we'll dedicate 4 hours of the next month of researching and playing around with those, working on your business and not just in your business.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to fit that into prioritizing. So
yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, it definitely helps, but at first it will actually hurt.
Okay.
And it could cause you to throw up your hands and say, forget this. I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it's just a tool, some people like Trello, some people like Asana, some people like whatever else is out there. It's to each their own. It's a Chevy, Ford, Dodge type of thing. They all are going to get you to the same place, just a little different. I'll get hate mail from people saying that that's not true, but it's true. It just doesn't matter. If it enables you to get your job done better, then so be it. And if you like the button is green on this one and blue on the other one, fine by me. But yeah, don't get yourself bogged down in that yet.
Cool. Okay.
All right. So let's start to kind of wrap this up here, Jessica. I want to ask you, as I do everybody, so based upon our conversations here today, we don't want to just to walk away and go, that was nice. We want to talk about action.
Mhm.
So as a result of us chatting today, what's your first action?
I think starting to write down my 3-year plan and goals and what I envision Sparkle Industries becoming, being more specific with my goals so I can work towards that. Because right now it's just an idea, and I've listened to other mindset podcasts, and they say start with specific goals. So I need to get those written down.
Yeah.
So
you might, and going back and think about it, Jessica, you might want to start with a day in the life of Jessica in 2022.
Okay.
On April 30th, 2022, this is a day in the life of Jessica, and looking back at the last month or so, and this is what I've done. And then that's starting with your life, and then go back and do the vivid vision of your business and making sure that the context of that fits into that vision for your life.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I love that.
Now, also, you want to mix it with some practical stuff. So let's talk about on that side of things, in terms of these processes and stuff. What's an action item that you can start with there?
With documenting beginning to end, doing bookkeeping for one of my easier clients, with the screen recording and voice recording, and then sending that off to, you said rev.com? No.
REV.
REV. Yeah, and then getting that documented and going through all the little bits and pieces of that, and then from there comparing that to my checklist. But I guess cleaning up the transcription of my video.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, yeah.
All right.
And then, and then go ahead.
Okay, so what I want you to do after we get off of this recording, I want you to put a date by when you'll have all these things done.
Okay.
Because if we don't have that deadline on ourselves, then give yourself a specific date on, hey, I'll have this written by this date. I'll have my first process offboarded by this time. Or, I'll have, backing up, I'll have a VA hired by this date, and I'll have the first process handed over to them on this date.
Oh my gosh, that makes it so real.
Yes, that's exactly what we want. There you go.
Okay.
That makes this no more abstract.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, this is going to set you up to build that mini empire. And even if you wanted to stay where you are, this would enable you to really curtail the time that you spend and probably make as much money as you are now, just because of the efficiencies that you gain.
Mm-hmm.
And work less, make more, kind of what we all want.
Cool.
To a certain point.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
All right. Anything else, Jessica, before we say goodbye here to the Albee Bookkeeping Show?
I mean, that you simplified it for me. I knew you would have a way for me to figure this out. So, no, I mean, I think that you covered a lot of that and simplified it. For me, so I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you, and I'd love to do a follow-up 6 months, 9 months down the road. And
my gosh. Okay.
How your progress has been. That would be great.
Okay, cool.
And I love that your niche, I just noted this on the or boss babes, women entrepreneurs. That is is wonderful. I love that.
It's funny. The majority of my clients are guys, so I'm not excluding men, but
right.
I'm trying to appeal to women entrepreneurs with my marketing. So, yeah.
Well, as a father of 2 daughters, I hope that they would, at least consider entrepreneurship. I certainly don't want to force them into anything, but that would be something that would warm my heart, because I know that what it can do for people if you do it right. So that's awesome. Love it.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Ben.
All right. So Jessica Albee?
Jessica Albee. I know.
Albee. Did I say Albee?
Yes. I get that a lot, but
I was saying that tongue in cheek. I was saying maybe if we got some sort of SEO, Jessica Albee was on Jessica Albee, even better.
There you go. Yes. I love that.
All right. Well, thank you, Jessica. And if you would like to find out more about Jessica, you can go to sparklebookkeeping.com, sparklebookkeeping.com. Again, I just love that name, Jessica.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, it's been awesome.
Listen, if you would like to hear more great conversations just like today's, then I want you to head on over to ilovebookkeeping.com. There, you're going to find all of the shows, the notes, and some other great goodies that we have for you there. Now, if you'd like to be a guest on the I Love Bookkeeping show, there is a link that says Be a Guest. Go in there and we'll walk you through the process of getting on the show. And finally, to discover more about our programs, go to the courses page on the ilovebookkeeping.com site. There you have it, another great episode of I Love Bookkeeping. Thank you for being a proud listener, and thank you for being a bookkeeping professional. Enjoy the rest of your week.
I love bookkeeping. Here's a little shout to all my